Jewelry sellers, whether you are new or experienced, today's video is one you're not going to want to miss. I'm going to share 10 different brands that you should be looking for when you're out at thrift stores, garage sales, estate sales. These are 10 brands that you can find that you can flip. They flip really regularly. They sell on eBay pretty regularly and they sell for a good profit. I could sit here and list for you the top jewelry that sells, which is fantastic, and I wish I could find it all the time, the Chanels and the Tiffany's and the Gucci's, etc. But these are 10 pretty common brands that still sell for a good profit if you can find them in good condition and for the right price. So I'll share with you the brand, what the marks are to look for, what kind of the style is that they look like, and what you might be able to get for them if you find them to sell. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Margaret. I have been reselling and making YouTube videos about it for over 10 years, and I'm very excited that you chose to join me today. Let's get started. The first brand we're going to talk about is Brighton. I have their website pulled up because I want you to see the style of jewelry that they make and the B. So if you see here the B on their logo, that cursive script B, that's going to be something to look for when you're checking the marks for Brighton jewelry. Most of the time, Brighton jewelry is a silver tone metal. Sometimes there are gold tone bits mixed in, but I wanted you to see kind of how it looks with the swirls on the silver tone pieces. And then this hang tag that you can see here, you'll find pretty frequently on the Brighton jewelry. It'll have that script B. Let's take a look. So here you can see, that silver tone. Most of the time at Silvertone, I don't know that they make sterling silver. They might. The thing with Brighton to keep in mind if you find it is that sometimes that silver tone finish can be coming off. So if you find one that does have the silver tone rubbing off, it might lose its value depending on how bad it looks. On eBay, what I have done is I have applied some filters. The filters that I have applied are pre-owned because most likely you're going to find items that are pre-owned or used, and I'm looking at sold listings here. Another thing I like to also narrow this down by is buy it now. Oh, I do have it on buy it now because I don't list most of my things on auction. So sometimes that skews the price point as far as that goes. So I'm going to scroll back to the top so we can take a look at some of these Brighton pieces. I have these sorted by most recent, ended recently. I can sort them by highest first. Sometimes this pulls in lots of jewelry, as you can see here, but there are some Brighton pieces that can sell for quite a bit of money. Just wanted to show you those as well. So when you're out looking, you can think, oh, okay, there are some of these that do sell for a good price. Rare Brighton hammered cross, looks like that. Brighton crystal voyage, berry hues. So there are some that can sell for in the hundreds, but mostly they're, I would say, 20s to 40s in that range. Again, it's got that silver tone. Sometimes there are gold tone or brass accents on them, but you can see that price pretty consistently around the $20 to $30 range. And these are ones that you can find pretty regularly. I get them pretty regularly in different jewelry boxes and unboxings that I find. You're going to look for that B on the piece of jewelry. I've pulled up Terapeak here just to show you the average sold price, and I don't have all the same filters on here. So the average sold price here for the last 3 months for Brighton jewelry is around $30, which is not too bad, and a 22-ish% sell-through rate, depending on, again, all the filters. I don't have all the right filters on that I normally use, but as far as jewelry goes, that's pretty good. And I wanted to pull this one up because you can see here it's got that, I'm trying to get it bigger for you. It's got that hang tag with the B on it. That's what you're going to look for. If you don't have access to Terapeak, I believe you have to have an eBay store, pay for the eBay store levels to have access to Terapeak. Another way to look at the sell-through rate to see, is this a good buy, whether it's for this jewelry or for anything else. What I'll do here is this is showing, as far as solds go, There are 2,600 plus that have sold with my parameters of used and on buy it now for Brighton necklace. And I didn't put in rings or earrings or anything else because I was just focusing on necklaces. The way I would check this, if I didn't have Terapeak, is that I would take off sold and I would want to see how many are up for sale. So let's deselect sold. And you can see there's 10,000 plus up for sale with those parameters. The next brand we're going to look at is J. Crew. J. Crew is another brand that sells pretty well for me. It can sell, depending on the piece, some of them sell for 15, 17 plus. Most of the time for me, it's $20 or more is what I'll put on these. And a lot of times I'm looking mostly at necklaces here. So most of them are going to be these statement necklaces. Some of them are pretty chunky though. Some of the more contemporary pieces that are coming out more frequently are not as statement chunky style, but you can see here that there's quite a few. I actually think I have this necklace. I need to get that listed. That are here. I want to show you what to look for with the maker's mark on this. Usually it has a hang tag that will say J. Crew like that. And then one of the ways that I can spot it like that is because of the kind of clasp they use. You see it's like a circle. It almost looks nautical to me. It looks like a ring you would throw out, you know, if somebody's drowning. It sounds awful. But it looks like one of those rings that you would send out. That's how I spot it pretty quickly. However, I have seen some that don't have that clasp, but that's a quick way to catch it if you're out looking at jewelry. This one sold for $37.56. When I'm looking at Terapeak for the J. Crew necklaces, the average sold price is around $20, which lets you know there might be some that sell for a little less, but I'm pretty happy if I find it, especially in a jewelry bag or jewelry jar, getting a $20 profit off of a piece of jewelry that I found there. The next brand that we're going to talk about is Swarovski. This can be a little tricky, especially when you're looking at listings, because a lot of people throw Swarovski crystal into their listings without being able to verify for sure that what crystals are in it are Swarovski. But the actual brand Swarovski makes jewelry, and they do have a maker's mark. It looks like a little swan. So I want to make sure that you see that. So when you recognize that maker's mark, you'll know you're working with a Swarovski piece. Here's one vintage teardrop pendant, signed Swarovski gold swan. So let's take a look at that maker's mark there. You can see the little swan. It may not say Swarovski, but if you see the swan, then you'll know that that's what you're working with. A lot of Swarovski pieces that are signed are going to have these like really crystally looking crystals, but sometimes they're clear, sometimes they're different colors, but usually they're pretty, they're really pretty and blingy. So these little starfish, these are Swarovski, and it looks like they've got a hang tag on this one. Yeah, there you go. You see the swan. That's the back side of it. I wonder if they have a front side on this swan. You see there, the swan within the swan. There we go. The next brand that's really common to find is Chicos. They put out a lot of different styles, so we need to be able to figure out what is the maker's mark for Chicos. And this one's not too hard to figure out because it says straight on it, Chicos! This is a Chicos necklace and it sold for $34.50. Not too bad. When I'm looking at Chicos jewelry, I know there are people that they have such brand loyalty to Chicos that if they had a really cool piece of jewelry that they bought there and it broke or lost a stone, that they might be out there looking to replace it. And as you see here, I think I have one very similar to this as well. I need to go through my jewelry and get some stuff listed here. This one sold for $25. This one sold for $40 bucks. A lot of chunky stuff, very flashy statement type pieces that they put out. Very showy. Time to get those Chico necklaces up and listed. And when I'm looking at Terapeak for Chico's necklaces, I'm seeing the average sold price around $20, which tracks with what I have been seeing when I'm doing my research. And again, pretty happy with that. If I buy it at a thrift store for $1 or $2, then that's a really good profit. Next is Kendra Scott. Kendra Scott makes really nice jewelry. Frequently, it has different gemstones or semi-precious stones in them. And a lot of times you can spot them because they will be set like this in a little frame. There are a ton of knockoffs though, so be careful with that. A lot of times they're marked. However, I have found some earrings that weren't marked, and thank goodness they still sell them because I was able to verify that they are actually authentic. And they did have stone, like mother of pearl type stones in them, so they weren't plastic in there. They were really nice. Here you can see a few different varieties of Kendra Scott necklaces. This one is just a filigree. That one sold for $45. This one with the tiger's eye, is that tiger's eye? No, rhodonite. I'm going to say that wrong. Sold for $15, which is kind of surprising. I usually see those, maybe because it's a small one, that it sold for a little bit less. Normally I see some of these selling for a little bit more, but maybe the smaller ones are not quite as sought after. No, here's one very similar. Tiger's eye sold for $55. This is one that I recently got in a jewelry unboxing, and there you can see the hang tag says Kendra Scott. A lot of times along the frame, especially on some of the earrings and necklaces I found, that's where you'll find the words Kendra Scott engraved. Let me see if I can find one to show you. Here you can see on these earrings, it actually says Kendra Scott along the edge. But as I said, I've found a pair that are real Kendra Scott, but they don't have that along the edge. So it's worth checking out, especially if you've got a Kendra Scott store in your area. They should verify it for you. There are some places that won't, but that's more like Tiffany's and places like that. They'll charge you to get it sent off and la-di-da to verify you've got what you've really got. That is Kendra Scott. Let's see if I pulled that up on Terapeak. Yes, I did. All right. So Kendra Scott is showing average sold price of around $32. Another brand that's pretty common to find is Lucky Brand. And let's take a look at some Lucky Brand necklaces that you can find pretty regularly. As you can see here, Lucky Brand has a lot of different styles, so it's really going to come down to looking for that maker's mark to see if it's Lucky Brand. Usually it has a little 4-leaf clover stamp that will let you know that it is a Lucky Brand necklace. And you can see here some of the pieces go for a little bit less, a little bit more, but what I like about Lucky Brand is that it's a pretty consistent seller. So even though some of the pieces might not sell for $30, $40 plus dollars, I like things that I can also get really consistent sales with. Now, when I look over here on Terapeak, it's telling me that the average sold price is actually $28. So I'm going to go back and look at my search here and see like, ooh, maybe there's a lot on the lower end, but maybe there's quite a few on the higher end. Let's take a peek at the higher end real quick and see like, oh, okay, yeah. There's this bib necklace. Here's another very cool bib style necklace that are selling for on the higher end. So there are some that sell for more. I guess just more of the recent ones were lower ones. I feel like I have this too. Y'all are going to sit here and listen to me talk about all the things I don't have listed. I think I have that one. I need to get busy. I need to get busy. And here you can see the Lucky Brand logo. Sometimes it's on a charm like this on the necklace or piece of jewelry. Sometimes it's stamped in. Another super fun brand that sells really well is Betsey Johnson. Betsey Johnson is a really fun one to sell, and as you can see, 1,800 plus that have sold in the last 90 days. So that one's one that's selling pretty well. And Betsey Johnson's jewelry usually is pretty fun. There's like funky styles and really fun charms and pendants and things like that. Again, focusing on the necklaces here, you can see that they're pretty fun. There's like little dogs and shoes and 3-leaf, I guess it's a shamrock, bugs, and all kinds of fun things like that. Usually pretty statement style stuff or really cool enamel figures, hearts and animals and bugs and things like that. Let's take a peek at the maker's mark. So when you find Betsey Johnson, you'll know what you've got. This little fox, here you can see the mark there, and it's a BJ in cursive. And when I am looking at Betsey Johnson necklaces on Terapeak, it shows that the average sold price is around $40. So that is a really great one to pick up. And it's one that sells pretty well. Next up is Premier Designs jewelry. This is one that was like a multi-level, if I'm saying this wrong, but I had girlfriends back in Texas that were consultants for Premier jewelry, and I don't know that they actually are around anymore, that they're being sold anymore. I could be wrong on that. Y'all will have to let me know. But it was it's like one of those MLMs, I think, unless I'm calling that out wrong. And anyway, friends would have parties and they would want you to come buy the jewelry. But that being said, it is still something that if you find can sell pretty consistently because people liked it. And here we've got a number of them that have sold. They're the ones, of course, the first ones up off the bat aren't showing that they sold for a big amount of money, but there are some that do. Here you can see this one that is a bib style, pretty statement necklace, sold for about $25. So there are some that are selling around the $20 mark. Let's look and see the higher end ones. These are ended recently. Highest first, what would we be looking at? Oh, okay. So this has got like a chain. It's a really cool looking chain. That one's got a chain and a bracelet. There are a lot of times, you'll see them in lots like that. But let's look over on Terapeak and see what the average sold price is for premier jewelry necklaces. Terapeak is showing that it is an average sold price of around $25. Going back and looking, there are some that are higher end, and perhaps those recently sold ones were on the lower side, but the big chunk in the middle is in that $20 to $30 range, which is fantastic. The next brand that's pretty easy to find and sells really well is Joan Rivers. And I had Joan Rivers show up in another video that I did. I think it was about brooches, because I was researching like, okay, what should I prioritize in my listings? What's been selling well on eBay? And in that research video that I did, Joan Rivers was one that was showing to be selling really well lately. Here we have ended recently, and here are some different, and Joan Rivers jewelry's got all kinds of different styles. There is a bit of enamel. I do notice that, especially with the brooches as well. But here we've got, faux pearls, we've got faceted lucite, we've got enamel, all kinds of different things. Little bugs. I do notice a lot of little bugs and bees and stuff. So that might be something to keep an eye out for. And Joan Rivers jewelry usually just has her name. Let me find a piece that has it marked. Oh, that's really pretty. I saw one up here. Let's come back and you can see the hang tag, and it usually just says Joan Rivers on it. There we go. Joan Rivers, just like that. And on Terapeak, Joan Rivers necklace, the average sold price we're looking at is around $50. To me, that makes it worth it. I see that they do throw in lots into this. I wonder if I do minus lots, if that would change it, because that would skew the price. I wonder if that works on Terapeak. $33 on, it did work, yay, on Terapeak. That's still a really good average sold price in my book if I'm finding stuff to flip for a few dollars. And another brand that has a really great brand loyalty that is for ladies' clothes and their jewelry is Talbots. Talbots is a brand that you should be able to find pretty regularly. They have all kinds of statement necklaces, kind of like Chicos-esque, that, they're statement styles, they might be chains, they might be bibs, but they are something that you can find pretty regularly, and they're easy to identify. Look at that one. That one's pretty flashy. Let's take a look at the maker's mark for Talbots. And this is another one that's pretty easy to identify because it will just say Talbots. There you see there's just a little hang tag marked Talbots. Ooh, that one's gonna throw me because look, I see it looks like the J. Crew style on the hook there. Either way, if you see it, take a look at that closure because could be Talbots, could be J. Crew, but mostly I see it on J. Crew. And when I look at Talbots necklaces on Terapeak, it's showing that they sell in the $25 range. That's the average sold price. There are so many really good costume jewelry brands that can sell for a good profit. If you're wanting to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell and leave me a comment. What's another brand that you love finding when you're out thrifting? And I will see you on the next video. Thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.